judo for submission grappling, and then we did, last year they did arcs and some Japanese jiu-jitsu joint locks and stuff. So when we were talking about what we wanted to go over this year for judo, one of the things we realized is how, being that we're on kind of a judo island up in the Midwest, it's very rare that we get the opportunity to go to other gyms and train. We've had the luxury and the honor of going and training with St. Cloud a couple of times, so thank you guys. And then we've also gone to some seminars in Wisconsin and Missouri, and we've been lucky enough to have people come in and train with us. So what we thought would be a good idea is to structure today as if you're attending a week of classes here at Red River. So you guys could get a feel for the way that we do things here, understanding that it might be a little bit different than the way you do things at home. And that'll give you the opportunity to get a feel for what it's like to go to somebody else's gym. One of the things I always tell my students, and I've said this for many years, is my goal isn't to make it so you can go and kick everybody's butt at any gym in town, wherever. My goal is so you can go and understand the basics of judo and train at another gym and not feel like you are completely out on your own and you have no idea what you're doing. So today we're going to be going over Iponsei Nagi and variations therein, and we're going to be starting as if it's your second week. So you already came in, you took your first free trial week with us, we taught you how to break fall, we taught you how not to die, and now we're going to go in and we're going to teach you a technique. So my students especially, I want to see you guys working with people who are not from this gym. When I first started doing judo, I didn't get to touch a gi outside of Red River until I was an orange, almost green belt. It is an honor and a luxury to train with people outside your own gym. Take that opportunity. Find somebody roughly your own size, find somebody not your own size, find somebody who's not somebody you know. Bow, introduce yourself, train with that person. Okay? All right, the rest of you, talk to your own senses. I don't care what y'all do. But my students, find somebody else. Okay?
Mine also.
Yep, there you go. I agree. All right, so I'm going to be doing the morning session, and then Sensei David will be doing the early afternoon session, and Sensei Jordan will be doing the late afternoon session. So we're splitting into 3 groups. And that's basically how our classes are structured during the week. I teach Sundays, David teaches Tuesdays, and JD teaches Thursdays. And so I do intro, JD does next, and then David does next, and then JD does last. So basically you're getting a week of Red River Judo. Cool? All right. So we'll get started here. Where we're going to start is we're just going to start with our basic footwork. So everybody go ahead and stand up. If you are a right-handed judo player, your right foot should be forward and your left foot should be back. We want our feet just between hip and shoulder width apart. We don't want to be too wide. We don't want to be too narrow. So just between hip and shoulder width apart. Shoulders up and back, shoulders in line with our hips, hands up to protect our collars. Where we're going to start with is we're going to start with what's called a jab step. So I'm going to take my right foot, if I'm a right-handed player. If I'm a left-handed player, everything's going to be inverse. So my left foot's going to be forward, my right foot's going to be back. I'm a right-handed player, so my right foot's forward, hands are up. I'm going to turn my foot and line it up with my left foot. So big toe to big toe, straight line, shoulders still facing forward. I don't turn my body and face this way. I'm here, shoulders still facing forward, hips turned forward. Obviously, we can't keep our hips too like that because we'll twist our knee, but we want to make sure that we're looking at the person in front of us. So if JD and I are looking at each other, boom, I can still see him. I know what he's doing. I can see his hands. Jab step, back. Jab step, back. So I want you to do 10 jab steps, and then you're going to switch your feet and do 10 jab steps on the left side. Spread out. You can use the blue on the sides. We're not falling yet. Stand in your right-handed judo stance.
Mate, everybody be mindful of the camera, please, when filming. Go ahead.
Hey.
No, you're fine. So one thing to point out with JD when he's doing this is his shoulders and his hips are in line with each other. He's got a little bit of a bend in his knees. His knees are not locked out. Because if his knees were locked out, I go for a Hizaguruma, I pop through his knee, but also his balance is bad when his knees are locked out. Your knees are your shock absorbers. So when I go like this, and I'm moving around him, he's not going to fall anywhere. You see how he's adjusting his stance as I'm going and just letting that happen? So, don't lock your knees out, relax your posture. We have good posture, but we're relaxed. Nobody's standing at attention here. Okay? Now, next we're going to go jab step to 180-degree turn. Boom. When he does his 180-degree turn, and if you need to get closer, it's fine. His foot that he pulls around is a little bit behind his lead foot. So go ahead and do it again. Jab step, 180-degree turn. Boom. Now, so when we do that, this is what we're going to do for most, if not all, of our turning throws. Jab step, 180-degree turn. Boom. You see how he fits in with that? That's what we're trying to do. So jab step, 180-degree turn. Boom. So let's try the jab step to 180-degree turn. Again, by yourself. Don't worry about a partner right now. Just 10 on each side. If you want to make, hang on kiddos, I haven't started yet. If you want to make this easy on yourself, here, and just go back. Don't reset it. Don't go here. Okay. Now I'm going to go back over here. Don't waste your time. All right? All right. For those of you who don't know, Red River Judo Mate, that's how we stop. And when we get going, it's 2, 3, go. Everybody claps their hands. So just so you're aware of our culture. One thing Sensei David just pointed out is we want to pay attention. Where's Liam? Come here. So, look out there. So when Liam does his jab step, his foot comes across. Now when he does his 180-degree turn, you see how this foot right here, the foot he pulled back, is just behind his lead foot? That's where we want that. We don't want to bring this foot way back here. See that? See how he just about fell over? He's over-rotating and he's losing his balance there. Go back here, bud. Look towards them. Jab step. So his feet are in line, his toes are in line. Now he pulls this foot around by the hip. Boom. And there he goes. So his hip, right, it would be his left hip in this case, is pulled back just a little bit. His left foot is behind his right foot just a little bit. Okay? Now if he's a lefty, boom, go ahead, pull, boom. It's the same thing, it's just flipped. Okay? So if you're a left-handed player, just flip it in your mind. It's the same thing. There's no difference, okay? Thank you, Liam. All right, everybody got it?
Yes, sir.
Back to work. 2, 3, go. I'm not going to rush through things. I also talk fast and I talk loud. So if you have questions, if you don't understand, raise your hand, let me know. Flag down one of the senseis. They all have been through this with me. They know it, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on a partner drill. So if Sensei JD and Sensei David partner up, they're going to grab, JD's going to be uke, David's going to be tori. David's going to grab the sleeve grip. He's not going to grab a collar grip. So we grab the collar just to make sure our distance is correct, and then we're going to let go of the collar. So David's going to do a jab step. Notice how he pulls the sleeve up when he does that. Now he's going to do his 180-degree turn. And he sets into the technique. Now he's going to come back out. Boom, boom. Notice when he came back out, he pressed the rewind button. He went back out the same way he went in reverse. So jab step, 180-degree turn. Boom. Come back up. Boom, boom. Now, one thing I want us to focus on when we do this is Sensei David is not going to Jordan. Now you're all like, yes he is. Watch. Jab step, 180-degree turn. See that? See how he pulled JD to him? This is JD. Sometimes I call him Jordan. In case you guys missed that. See how he pulled JD to him, right? Go again. Boom. Brought him to him. Because that's where we're going. If he does it wrong, and Sensei David just goes to JD, see? If I want to throw him that way, I don't want to bump him this way. Does that make sense? So we pull two. Go again. Boom. See? Everybody got it? Every single time up on his toes. Yes?
What do we focus on when we're pulling?
We turn the wrist, follow your watch. Do it again. Up, pull, all the way around. Got it? Get that hand all the way around, keep that pull, don't pull it across your chest. Find a partner, go through this drill. You can do 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, I don't care. Just get your reps in, okay? Nobody should hit the mat, but be ready to fall. Judo happens. Sometimes it just happens. So nobody should hit the mat yet. Be ready just in case. 2, 3, go. and I think my shit doesn't stink. That's not the case. I tell my students this when they go to other people's gyms. Do the way that's being taught today, because we teach it that way. When Rough Rider teaches, when St. Cloud teaches, when Genoese teaches, I always tell my students, I don't care if this is different than the way we teach it. Do the way that's being taught. Because if all day you pick up one thing that you can add to your judo, it was worth that day. Okay? So I understand that the way that we do things here might be a little different, and that's okay. Do the way that we're teaching today, because we're going to get to the point where it's going to make sense. Okay? If Nate and I and a few others went to Bismarck to do the Vern Borgen clinic, there was some stuff that was being shown that was very different than the way we teach it. Not wrong, not bad, different. But we took little pieces and parts and we brought it home with us, and that's the goal of today. Okay? So please do it the way that we're showing. There's a method to our madness, I promise. 2, 3, go. This is just a quick little safety thing and something that we encourage too. So, Addison, you're going to be Uke, you're going to be Tori, and we're going to be Uke, okay? So, this is Morgan. Morgan's in the pink, okay? When Addison is doing her reps, Morgan's hand is on top here, okay? There's 2 reasons for that. The first one is because if her hand is here, and she's new, she's not, she's a very experienced judo player, but let's pretend she is, and she accidentally starts falling and plants her hand and breaks her wrist, or breaks her forearm. Now you're like, that doesn't happen. That has absolutely happened, I've seen it. So, we're going to keep our hand up here. The other reason is because when she pulls, it creates this nice big circle right here that then Addison will fill when she does her jab step to 180-degree turn. And there's a third reason. The third reason is because when we start teaching grip breaks, one of the primary grip breaks we teach is Uke will put their hand here. So we're already building good habits, right? Because if she wants to break this grip, do you remember the thumb roll? Do you remember the thumb roll where we put our thumb here? See? Yeah. So that's one of our first grip breaks we teach requires the hand to start on top like that. So it's a good habit to get into, okay? So when you're Uke, put your hand on top. Okay? All right, 2, 3, go. Everybody take a listen to Sensei David here.
We want to go through something, JD. Can you come in? So, what we saw a lot today is I'm here, I want to do my turn. Okay, I'm coming here, and then here. You can see there is, when I did it, I contacted with my butt. Alright? This is wrong. Because from here, if I want to lift, I will try to lift with my butt, and it will be very difficult. Right? So, I want to keep distance between my butt and his waist. Okay? In order to do that, my first jab step, it's not a deep step. It's really, my toes are starting here, they must end up on the same line. Right? Let's create distance. Now I'm going to turn. When I'm going to turn, his shoulders are coming to me, and there is still space between my waist and his waist until I lift up. Right? And in that case, the lift is really, really easy. So, that will seem very unnatural for most of you, but you need to try to keep your waist under your shoulders all the time. And that will be very helpful for your back. Okay? This way, the lift is really easy, and I'm avoiding injuries for my back. Okay? So, contact with the shoulder, not with the waist. Okay? 3, 2, 1.
Actually, hang on, I'm going to steal somebody. Aaron, come here. Anthony, come here. Aaron, Tori, Anthony, Uke. So, a couple things I want us to look at is Aaron's going to grab that sleeve. And now Anthony's first thing he wants to do is he's going to grab this collar. Break it up. Get rid of it. Boom. Don't. When we train, we want to train like we're going to be fighting. We want to train like we're ready. And so when we do this, he grabs the sleeve, pop the collar off. Just pop it. Don't be, just pop it. Just pop it. Just pop it. Get rid of it. Boop. Yep, that's it. Just get in the habit. We teach habits. We teach habits. And the habit is, these guys are fighting, grabs the collar, get it off. These guys are fighting, and there we go, stop. So, if you're walking up and you're like, okay, you're gonna bow, you guys are gonna be partners, you're gonna do this drill, grabs the sleeve, grabs the collar, pop it off. Just be nice, pop it off. There you go. Every single time. Don't let Uke get a collar grip. Right? Now, if we were working formally, where I'm like, okay, he's testing, formal, make sure we're very good, make sure everything is very technically correct. Yes, we're going to grab sleeve, we're going to grab collar. Both of them are going to grab sleeve and collar. Grab his collar. Boom. And this is how we're going to do it from a formal perspective. But I'll worry about that when he's testing. For now, we're worried about how to use this live. So pop that up, get rid of it. Come on. There. Every single time. So if you're walking up to somebody and you're training and they grab your collar, pop it off. Don't got to be mean about it. Don't got to be a jerk. Just get rid of it. Okay? Every single time. Go ahead.
So just to add to this, kind of part of why Sensei Steven's bringing this up is it can be too easy when we're practicing or whatever to just get into the habit of I just walk up and we just grab our 50-50 kumikata grip, right? But if I'm doing Ippon Seinage, I don't want him to have this, right? Because he can use this to defend against me. I turn in, he pushes me out. So I don't want to practice my technique from a bad position, unless we're specifically trying to work what do we do in the bad position. But in the sense of we're just working the technique, I don't even need to worry about like doing, you can do your hands in a way that's like grip breaks, but I don't need to like break his hand. I'm not trying to break his grip. I'm just like, we're not doing that right now, dude. Right? And then I get into this where we're supposed to start the drill from, right? And it can even like, if I come up here and I'm supposed to be doing this and I grab the collar and Sensei Steven said don't do that, Aaron can be like, no, don't do that, right? To make sure we're doing it kind of like Steven said, doing it the way that's being taught, right? And then also just getting in the habit of, I'm not doing Seinage if he's got this collar grip, right? Or if I have, one of the rare lefties and he grabs this collar, I especially don't want to do Seinage from here because I'm never going to be able to turn through that. So I want to get that off, but I don't need to hold that sleeve. So always try to make sure you're starting in the position that we're telling you, whatever instructor is telling you to start in. There may be times when we want to start with that and then we'll break the grip, go into the technique.
Which we may get to later today.
Just
Cool?
wanted to add that.
All right, 2, 3, go. Very important we need to cover in order for the lift to be successful, okay? So, Liam, come here. JD. So, JD's going to do the lift of an Ippon Seinage with Liam, okay? And now what's going to happen is JD's going to do it wrong, and he's going to put Liam's arm on his shoulder, okay? And now Liam is going to do the first thing that comes naturally, which I'm betting will be a choke. So, spider monkey on his back and choke. Huh? Yeah, go too deep. See what I'm saying? Do it again. Get him, Liam. There you go. Okay? So what I'm trying to illustrate here is that if you pull that arm onto your shoulder, thank you, JD. Lincoln, come here. Do the same thing. Lincoln, you're Tori, okay? And you're going to put his arm on your shoulder. So this is wrong. Okay? Go. Boom, boom. Right here. This is wrong because this is wrong for 2 reasons. 1, he will not get a good lift from this. And 2, he's also going to go to sleep now. Okay? Joe. Get him. See? See what I mean? We don't want that arm on the shoulder. Do it again. Whole thing. Put it where it belongs. In the pit of the elbow. Okay? Right here. Now he locks this across, so when he does a 180-degree turn, he's pulling him up on the back. Everybody make sense to that? Okay. So what I want to focus on with this is the tricep goes in the pit of the elbow. Do it again. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. Good. Thank you, boys. So I'm going to borrow these 2 again, and we're going to go through that same thing one more time.
Something I want to point out, because I personally learned it differently. So I learn with the elbow on the shoulder, right? But he's right. If I do that, I have to do it a certain way. Because if I just come in, put his elbow over my shoulder and stay here, he has this choke. So, if some of you learn with the elbow on the shoulder, you need to lock this arm. All right? So immediately I'm coming here. And I can lift. And I'm safe because I'm pulling his arm down.
Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so let's take a step back real quick and go with locking the arm in the pit of the elbow. So go ahead and do that, please. We're here, arm comes through, we lock it in the pit of the elbow, okay? This is pulled in here. Sensei David needs to pull this shoulder back. And as he does that, JD's gonna come up, boom. See how he already comes off the shoulder? He's already coming around, okay? So do that one more time, please. We lock it in the pit of the elbow, come up. Now, one other thing, and then we're going to practice this, just the lift, okay? Watch JD do this. JD, your turn. JD's Tori, David is Uke. Boom, boom, boom. Right here. You see this hand come up? If there is gi there, grab it. If there is not gi, don't hunt for it. So go ahead. Boom. So there's no gi for him to grab a hold of. But some jackets are looser than others. And depending on the situation, that jacket may be super loose. And if you can grab a hold of it, do that. And now, go ahead, finish it. All the way through. See that? The control there? So if you can grab that jacket, do it. If it's not there, don't slap around and hunt for it because you're just wasting time. Does that make sense to everybody? Don't finish the throws yet, just lift. Okay? And we'll talk, and if I start seeing the lift be problematic, we'll regress and we'll look at it. Find a new partner. 2, 3, go. Go to the thing we just did before. Okay? So if you're getting the hands right, but your footwork is poor, stop doing the hands, just go back to the feet. Okay? And don't be surprised if somebody in the room that's working with you or that's walking around says, hey, I want you to go back and just work on your footwork. That's okay. Because it's better to get it right early than to have to try to fix it later. Because if you get it ingrained in your head the wrong way, like Sensei Rudd and I were just talking about, if you get it ingrained in your head the wrong way, it's going to be a bitch to try to fix it later. Right? Yep. Okay. So, what I want to do now is, where is Nate? Nate, come here with JD, please. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to finish the throw. And all of you are like, oh God. It's fine. Ippon Seoinage is a big throw. But we're going to work our way up to the big. All right? Will you just give him a full yeet, 100% Ippon Seoinage over the top. Nice and tall, Nate. So this is what people think of when they see Ippon Seoinage, assuming it happens the way I want it. That. Okay? That is a big Ippon Seoinage. I love that throw. He can do that all day. Do it again. Why not? It'll be fun. just go ahead. It'll be fine. We're going to do this for the next hour. Just watch Nate get thrown like that because it's fun.
Everybody gets a turn.
Yeah. So hang on. I got you. One second. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take it a step back. So he's going to pick him up just like that. And he's going to roll over the shoulder over the side. So go ahead and just right over the side like a nice small sail. Boom. Not bad. We'd like to get both of his feet off the mat, but that's kind of my intro Seoinage. When we train Seo, we often just call this a Seoinage, and we'll delineate the two by an Ippon Seoinage. Go ahead and do it again. As the full Ippon. Sen. Love it. It'll be great. We'll often call that an Ippon Seoinage, just to delineate the two, right? You can have the semantics argument later. That's not my job right now. I don't have my Japanese book with me, so we'll figure it out. So, we'll do the small Seo again. This is what happens when you're the senior student in the gym, by the way, guys. You get to be Nate. We're going to do that. Now, we have 3 perfectly good crash mats over there. If you feel like you need to use one, grab it. But it is a small fall. It is a side fall. It's very similar to just doing a side fall that you do when we're walking down the mat. Break fall, you'll be fine. I do recommend falling on this, not on that. Because that is about that much of foam and then concrete. This is nice. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns? Aaron?
Well, I mean, just for learning purposes, can you throw them really hard on the opposite side?
Yeah, sure. Love it. Great. Just so y'all can see. Did you notice sometimes JD grabbed the sleeve with the other hand when he came under and sometimes he didn't? If the fabric is there, grab it. If it's not there, don't hunt for it. Questions, comments, concerns? 2, 3, go. And I'm going to use myself and JD here because I'm going to show you guys a couple things not to do. And I love being the one to show things what not to do because that's when I get hurt.
One of the things that we didn't say is you don't have to fall every time. Okay, so we said that we want the full throw and getting thrown, but you don't have to throw every time. Okay? If you get thrown every time for the full day, you're not going to finish the day.
So again, remember one of the goals here was what's class like here at Red River. So that's why 2 of those things I just said is what class like here at Red River. Now I'm going to show you what to do, what not to do. So I'm here, I'm Tori, he's Uke, I pull in, my knees come together like this. I don't want to do that because I value my knees and I spent a lot of money to fix one of them already. When I bend my knees go straight forward like this and I'm nice and strong in my set. Okay, I don't twist, turn my knees in because that puts a lot of strain inward on your knees. And if you're like me, you're only going to do that about 3 times before your wife has to come and get you and carry you home and you feel real dumb. Keep your feet straight like this. Now, the other thing not to do is this. What am I doing wrong? Drew, what am I doing wrong?
Leaning too far back.
I'm leaning too far back. Your lower spine is a stack of dimes. You start tilting that spine backwards, it's going to be a bad day. It's going to be especially a bad day when your uke is good at judo, and you're like this, and they just decide to make you look real stupid. My shoulders stay above my hips until I finish the throw. Does that make sense? My shoulders stay above my hips until I finish the throw. Now, I value my lower back. So when I hinge at the hips. I don't bend over like this. I hinge at the hips. So, hinge at the hips. Again, you want to make it through the whole day? Try not to hinge at your lower back. Questions? 2, 3, go. The idiot instructor doesn't realize that you're in the middle of getting instruction from somebody who knows more than them. Keep listening to them. And then when they're done, come over and join the group. So, for example, the gentleman whose name I don't know, I apologize. Advice from Sensei Sam. I said mate because I didn't see that. Nick should keep listening to Sensei Sam until Sensei Sam's done. And then we'll get him caught up. Okay? So if one of the instructors is helping you, and I tell my kids class this all the time, if Sensei David is giving instruction to Lincoln and Morgan and Addison and I yell mate, they should keep listening to him. Because I know, I see it. Okay, they're getting help. We'll catch them up. Okay? So we're going to talk about my favorite seiyonage now, because I like to end a class on something fancy. So, JD Manville, are you please? So the footwork's going to be a little bit different here, so everybody pay attention. I'm going to get my collar grip. Okay? So this is called a weak side post. Okay? What that means is I'm posting on his shoulder with my left side, my weak side. Okay? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to step with my back leg across and turn my foot in. Everybody got that far? Here. You feel weird standing here. And y'all are like, you're going to be really off balance. I'm not going to stay there. No way in hell am I going to stay standing like that for very long. I'm going to go here and I'm going to turn. Okay? So if I don't have a partner, it looks like this. Here, here. Here. So what we're going to do first is, before we even grab somebody, is we're going to work on that footwork. My right foot's forward, my left foot's back. If I'm a lefty, I switch it. My back leg comes across. My back leg comes across, pick this up, turn. Now this goes back to the earlier conversation when we were talking about kumikata grips. I can't do this from here. If he's got this collar grip and I want to do this, I'm pulling this into myself. He's going to push me that way as soon as I step in. I don't want him to have that. So when we're here, boom. Got it? So footwork. We're here. Back leg across. Turn. Everybody got it? Give that a try. 2, 3, go. Making more sense as we start partnering up. Okay? So, oh perfect, JDT, hi. So again, I have a weak side post. A weak side post means the weak side of my body, in this case my left side. If I was a left-handed player, the weak side would be my right side. But I'm a righty. So I have a weak side post. We're here. Now, this is a very active technique, okay? When I do this, I can't be slow or too impactful about my movements because I'm putting myself in an odd position. And the only time in judo where we put ourselves in odd positions is if I'm going to be cratering him. Cratering him, right? It's just like when we do any technique like our Tayatoshi, right? I'm out here, I'm out here. This is an odd position. I'm not going to stay here, okay? Our Ouchigari, this is an odd position. I am not going to stay here. The moment I get in an odd position, I'm attacking, right? So, weak side post, cross step, toes are pointed in. Sensei Jordan's got this grip. So similar to when we're here and I come under, he's got this, I'm going to go under. I'm going to catch them both. Both my arm and his. If he doesn't have this, for whatever reason, maybe he's just bad, and he's just letting me have this, I'll just get my own. I won't worry about that. I don't need his arm for this. I can do it on my own. Don't grab it. I'm going to throw you. Here. I don't need his arm. If his arm's there, it's going to make my life a lot easier. Cross, turn. Notice when I turn, I'm reeling him into me. I'm reeling him into me. I like collar side techniques because they're tighter. There's less margin for error, but the control is much tighter. So we're here, boom. So, what I want us to do now is go through that movement. He should not hit the mat. We're not throwing it. But I should get lift. Now, when I say get lift, hey Nate, come here. Let Jake do this with you. So weak side post. And I want you to fishtail, like you like to do. When I say get lift, I don't mean this. No. Come on, big one, big one, big one. I don't mean that. Because doing that over and over and over and over again is going to be very tiresome. I just mean just a small lift. Go. That's it. That's fine. Heck, his big toes could still be on the mat. Do it again. That's fine too. One of the best judo players in the world in his day used to tell me, if you can get a player's foot a centimeter off the mat, you can throw anybody in the world. Doesn't mean you'll score, because they might do something funny, right? Doesn't mean the throw's going to be perfect, but if you can get both their feet a centimeter off the mat, you should be able to finish your throw. Okay? And that gentleman was scary, so he was probably true. All right? So, go through the technique, just a little bit of a lift, put him back down. Then your partner's going to go. I want you to go back and forth, 1 and 1, because we're going to start, go ahead you guys, one more time. We're going to start working on our footwork and working on our rhythm. So JD's going to go, boom, come back out. Now Nate's going to go. Boom, boom. And we're going to try to make that transition back and forth as smooth as possible. Make sense? I recommend finding someone you haven't worked with. 2, 3, go.
A good lift, and I may not be able to pull him off his feet. The other problem is if I come in too close, I may not have enough turn to really get him up. So, like, I would prefer to stay a little further away so that there's room when I turn, he settles onto me,
Yep.
rather than me trying to get here and now.
Yep. So, So that goes back, thank you very much. That goes back to something we were talking about earlier, and that is bringing uke to you. Okay? George, come here. So, when I cross step, I want to make sure there's room to bring my hips through. That's what Sensei Tom was just saying. I want to make sure there's room to bring my hips through. And I want to use that reeling motion to bring George to me. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier. If I'm too close and I turn through, I'm going to bump it. And that's going to push him the wrong way. Okay, I want him going that way. I don't want to bump him backwards. I mean, occasionally when it's just George and I might do that just once in a while just to make sure he's still awake. But for the most part, I'm going to keep space in here and pull him to me. Now, when we actually go to execute this technique, JD, can I borrow you, please? When I actually go to execute this technique, I don't want him sitting on my back. You're all like, but it's a lifting throw, you put him on your back. No, he goes over my back. He goes around my back. Go ahead and throw, George. George, you good? Okay. The less time he stays on your back, the more power there's going to be in the throw. See that? Let me say that again. The less time he stays on your back, the more power there's going to be on your throw. George, step off for just a second. Liam, come here, throw JD. Now y'all are like, what? How is this child going to throw this full-grown adult?
I don't know about full-grown.
Go ahead, throw him. The less time means there's less weight on your back. Makes the size difference between the two hugely different. Okay? The first time I threw somebody with Ippon Seiyonage, the guy was like 6 inches taller than me and outweighed me by like 50 pounds. And I blew my back apart. I was sore for a week. Because I tried to keep him on my back. That's not the point. Seiyonage, I shouldn't pick him up and carry him around. I can, but I shouldn't. As soon as they connect with my back, they go over and they hit the mat. Throw them again. See? That makes sense? Okay. So, when you pick your partner up, don't carry them on your back. They're not a backpack full of books for you St. Cloud State people. Right? They go up, they go down. Right? So, JD, pick just Uchikomi with Liam. Up, down. Again. Up, down. Size is irrelevant. Wow. Who's the biggest guy in the room right now? It's not Tanner. Sorry, buddy. I mean, you've gotten a little pudgy, yes. Nate, come here. Yeah. Nate's the biggest guy in the room, probably. JD, go ahead and come. Up, down. That's it. Up, down. That's it. That's all I need. That's all I need. You don't need to huck them and hold them on your back for a long time, unless somebody's a chiropractor in here and are trying to get new clients. Okay? Sensei Mackie, or Sensei Rudd, you wanted to say something?
What he's saying about not carrying them on your back, if you start carrying them on your back, you turn this into a totally different throw. Ippon Seiyonage is a shoulder throw. You bear the weight, no matter how little it is, and it shouldn't be very much, on your shoulder area, above, way up here. This is where his weight should be, okay? It's a shoulder throw. It is a, believe it or not, a hand technique, which means we are not using our hips, we are not using our legs for anything other than support. The important thing with this is to get this person, instead of coming in straight-legged, and I try to throw him this way, I'm going to have problems. I don't care who you are, you're going to have problems. The best I can do is slide him out this way unless I'm a lot stronger than what I really am. So when I'm going to come in, and I'm going to keep this distance, is I'm going to screw myself into the ground. Right there. And if I'm not falling forward, by the time I get him loaded on my back, I'm not going to do the throw well. So if, when you're doing this, you feel like you're off balance and falling forward, when you're here, you're doing the right thing. Use him and his momentum and the pull you have to keep you from falling on your face. That's the design of the throw. Okay? So what Steve is saying is absolutely true. You can't carry him low. You've got to put him up high in the shoulders. This is a shoulder throw, a hand technique. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing I want to add on that, because you mentioned you have to be end balanced front forward. Tori must be end balanced front forward. Uke must be end balanced front forward too. So if I'm Uke and I feel that Tori is doing the technique bumping into me and I stay on my heels right now, my job as Uke is telling him, even if I'm not able to point out what exactly in his movement he's doing wrong, I have to tell him, hey, my heels were on the mat. There is something you are doing here that is wrong. Let's just try again and make my heels come out of the mat. Because as Uke, if I want to be thrown, I should not be like that. I should be here.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay,
Very
so
good point.
I'm sorry, David, were you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do uchikomi. So uchikomi is just learning through repetition. So JD it's JD's turn. He's going to do uchikomi with Leah. Boom, 1. And he's going to do this 5 times. 2, 3, and he's going to throw on 6. 4, and 5, and he's going to throw on 6. Okay? So pay attention to your surroundings so you don't throw somebody into somebody. Crash mats are there. Crash mats are there. Don't use that one up there. That one is trash. That one's worse than falling on this. Use those if you need them. All right, 2, 3, go. Irrelevant of the kind of seinage. So we'll do the one we're working on now. Boom, boom, stop. So, yep, let's turn you guys this way. This hand, Justin does not want to put it here. Okay? Because that creates a lot of unnecessary space and makes the throw more uncontrolled and more wild for Matt. Now, Matt can finish this throw, great, but it's going to make Uke's life suck. Either throw your hand over like a backpack or put your hand on their hip. Okay? If for whatever reason you don't feel comfortable with the person putting their hand on your hip, tell them. Last thing I want is somebody to be uncomfortable training me. Oh, look at that. Nice guy, Matt. Good job. I'm serious. So if you have a problem with this, just tell them to backpack you. Okay? Make sense to everybody? All right, back to work. 2, 3, go.
And to get you out of bad things, I'm not calling it combination, because when we talk about combination, a lot of people see, oh, I'm doing this first technique to get to the second technique, right? What I'm talking about is the first technique is your favorite technique. So you want to get it, but if for some reason your opponent reacts a certain way, there's other things you can do from there, right? So we're going to talk a lot about situations. And because we walked Nage this morning with Sensei Steven, we are going to consider today that your favorite technique is Sainai. Okay? So just to go back to the basic principle, to finish the warm-up, I want us to walk for 2-3 minutes on the footstep again. So I'm just jab stepping, turning. Okay? Jab stepping, turning. What I want you to see each time I do that is that I'm going low on my knees, my butt is under my shoulders. Right? Let's try to focus on that. 3, 2, 1. I want to walk on the same Seoinage we saw this morning. So I'm just having the sleeve. I'm going to jab step. I'm going to put my arm under. I'm not going to get the shoulder over my shoulder. I just want to get my arm here and get around, right? I want him to come to me. So you saw just before, I had his back against my back, from my shoulder to my butt. It was because I was too close. So I want to keep my distance. Here, he's coming to me. Alright? So, for now, let's just work on that a little bit more. Just because we're after lunch, we want things to come back, and then we will work from there. Okay? 3, 2, 1.
Any of these forward throws, we really any throw, but especially when we're working and learning a forward throw, we really want to pay attention to where our feet are. And what I mean by that is I'm seeing a lot of people where they're going to throw this and their toes are coming up off the mat.
Look at his shoulder and his butt.
See?
If he's like that, his shoulder in front of his butt.
It takes a lot of strength away from my throw. I want my feet, and you heard Sensei Sam say this earlier, I want my feet screwed into the mat. My toes, all 5 of them, on each foot, the pads of my toes, into the mat, pushing down. My heels will start to come up as I throw this, and that's okay. I don't want to step in and be on my tiptoes, and I don't want to step in and have my toes come up where all my weight's on my heels. Okay? So just keep an eye on that, because what I saw a couple people start doing this, where their big toe is on the mat but the sides of their feet are coming up, and that is a wonderful way to get knee surgery. So don't do that. Keep your feet on the mat. Thank you.
Okay, let's go back. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's try to see. So, I'm imagining I'm going to commit for this technique. But he either know me or he saw me fighting before. And he know my favorite technique is Serenage. And he's going to escape from this technique by going around in the direction of this arm. So if I'm footstepping and coming in, he's going to walk around, right? So the first thing I can do, well, it will be very depending on how he escapes the technique. So let's imagine he's escaping the technique and he's getting his butt away like that. So in that situation, I'm here. What I can do from here is just do one more step. My arm is already here. Do one more step. And I do the exact same technique. So I'm here, getting in, he's getting away. I'm going for the exact same technique. And that has require minimal foot replacement, right? My arm is already here. My right foot is already almost in the position it needs to be. I just have to go here, right? So let's work a little bit on this one, and then we will see another situation. Right? 3, 2, 1. 2 people practicing together. There is Tori and Uke. Tori has one job. Uke has his own job. He's not just here to get thrown, right? In this specific drill, Uke has a reaction to have, right? If Uke doesn't react the right way, I'm going for something else, right? We are working situational. So Uke needs to put himself in the situation for Tori to work this specific technique, right? And also, if you see that Uke is not moving, Uke is not reacting, well, in that case, you just throw the first technique, right? Because remember, you are supposed to commit to your first technique. And then you do the second technique only because Uke reacted a certain way.
So I noticed we have a lot of new people in the room. I see a lot of yellow belts in the room, which is great. But does everybody know what Uke and Tori mean? Everybody's familiar with that? Uke is the person receiving the technique. Tori is the person executing the technique. Does everybody know why it's important that Tori does the correct technique? So it's important for Justin when working with Matt.
Yep.
Oh yeah, 2 in a row. It's important that for Matt as Uke, it is important that Justin throws him correctly because A, it's safer, and B, then Matt knows what this technique feels like. So then Matt knows next time how to counter that technique. Oh, if Justin is screwing off and throwing crappy things, Matt doesn't need to respond to that. There's no threat there. It's threat assessment. So it's important that Justin executes the technique correctly because Justin is learning how to do it. And Matt is learning how it feels and how to respond to it. So pay attention to that. Sorry, thank you, Sensei.
Let's go back. 3, 2, 1. Very quick. I see a lot of here.
Mate!
I have difficulties with this one. That's perfectly normal, especially right now when we are cutting it into parts. Because that's the kind of techniques you need to go with the flow. Right? If you step, stop, step, stop, step, it's very difficult to throw it. Right? So right now we are practicing. It's good to step for learning purposes, like to step and stop when you learn. And when you get the step, you want to go faster and faster. So I'm going here, here. Right? With fluid motion, it goes very easily. Without it, you are getting like difficulties, and that's perfectly normal. That will come when you get it smoother and smoother. Okay? Let's go back to it and try to think about making it smoother and smoother. Okay? 3, 2, 1. And so the first one, and Steven was reminding me of it, is that you need to commit on the first one. Right? I'm not just here, and waiting for him to leave. Okay? I need to commit. The second thing is, and there's multiple people that did it, when I'm going here, so I'm not going in. I'm going here, I'm going to turn, it's going to come around. Come on. What is going to come around, I don't want to go in. Right?
See that bump me backwards?
That's bumping backwards. He's going one direction, I'm going the other direction. It's not good. He's turning around me. There is momentum going this direction. All I need to do, I was here, I just need to turn the same direction as he does. Here. And use the momentum of my uke. He's turning around me, I need to turn faster. And I have less distance to cover than he has. If you want to run around me, he has all this distance to cover. I just have that. Okay?
Right.
So let's go back for 5 minutes and then we will pass to something else. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes his escape will be a little bit different. So first time he was escaping and he was keeping his butt a little bit away, right? This time he's going to escape, but he's going to keep his leg close to mine. So here I'm doing the technique, he's going to escape, his leg is here. I don't want to continue to turn from here. His leg is here, I just take it. Okay? I have to act fast, because once we are here and he's here, he can, with this hand, he can go for my back, he can do a lot of mean things to me. So I don't want to stay in this position. I want to act before he has the opportunity to act. Right? So here, I'm going for it. He's here, his leg is very close. I have a good control of his shoulder here. I'm just going in. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay.
One thing, while you're drilling this, just like before, you don't have to finish it every time, right? So David can do this, goes in here, and then just step in to the position and allow me to kick out like that. He doesn't have to drive through every time. So, you know, if you feel comfortable with the position and are ready to try finishing it, go ahead. Just make sure your partner is aware and make sure you have the space around you when you finish it.
And tuck your chin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure they're also not injured.
Yeah, make sure your partner is willing to take the fall.
Yeah, when we're doing uchikomi and nagakomi, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ready? Yes? Good, bro. But if you're injured already, if you're recovering from surgery, if there's something wrong, you should communicate that to your uke as soon as you start training. By the way, my shoulder's screwed, my knee's screwed, whatever. You should be communicating that right away. Because if you don't communicate that and then you get hurt again, it's your fault.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Here, I'm going for the technique. He's escaping. He's here. I'm going to hook for his foot. But I'm not just going to push through him. Because if I push through him, he's going to remove his leg from the hook. So, here he's escaping. I'm going to take the hook and I'm going to pull all his weight on this leg while I'm taking this leg out. So with my leg here, I'm going to pull while I'm pulling this down. See? He's falling in an angle. He's not falling straight backward, he's not falling in this direction, he's falling in this direction. Okay, toward this way. Okay? Right? Yeah.
When you go in and you have your hook and you got your left foot or right foot back, are you driving hard off of that foot, driving with your shoulder there?
I'm not driving too much toward him.
Okay.
I'm more like pulling everything down.
So it's more of a post than anything to drive off of.
Yeah, there is just a little bit of drive, but mostly I'm pulling him down while I'm pushing a little bit with my shoulder. Right? I'm pulling with my arm, pushing with my shoulder, taking the leg.
And that pull on the leg that he's doing, right, in terms of like what it's doing to me, he's not just like pulling my leg straight on, right? When he gets his leg hooked, because he's kind of at an angle, he's pulling my leg this direction, like across my body, and then he's pulling the weight of my center of gravity, he's pulling it over to this void that he just created by pulling my leg out of the way.
The way that I like to think about it is he's putting, so where his foot is, he's putting his hip where the foot was. So he's taking the foot out and the hip's going, and his hip and his butt is going where his foot was. So it's straight down.
Other questions?
One other thing, real quick. Remember when I started this morning, I know that was a really long time ago and most of you have blocked it out and it's okay. We're building on what we started this morning, okay? So each technique we've built on each other over and over and over again. So if Sensei David is showing something and you're still struggling to the point of failure on the previous thing we got done working on, grab one of the people around and say, hey, can you come help me with that? I want to work on it. Because you're going to have trouble getting success on the next thing if we can't get you some modicum of success on the earlier thing. So don't hesitate to regress. Regression in your training is very important. That's why the fundamentals are called fundamentals. So just a reminder of what I talked about earlier this morning.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Faces the fact that you should try to get the first technique, right? The second technique is just if you don't get the first one. But your objective is to get, because it's tiring to do 2 techniques, right? You want to get the first one and be done with this rendering. Right? So I should see you trying to get the first one if my uke is not reacting. If uke is not reacting, uke should be flying and taking the first one, because you are trying to get it. Right? The second one is just a bonus. So there is 2 ways for my opponent to defend himself. There is the escape that we just walked, and there is the block. So usually, if I want to go in here, his primary defense would be to take his hip out and block my hip. So here, I cannot get in, right? And so here again, from this position, I will have my coach. But this time, to have this koichi, it's not so much a pulling with my leg and my arm, this coach, because of the positioning we end up in, I have to drive through. So here I'm doing the technique. His leg is a little bit far. I have to drive through this direction if I want to get my koichi.
See how much more distance he traveled on this koichi versus the last koichi?
So in order to be able to do that, I'm doing what I like to call a shuffle step. So we are here, I'm here, there is too much distance for me to grab his foot right away. So I'm going to replace my right foot with my left foot. I'm coming here, I'm pushing, you can see my shoulder are a little bit before my hip. And then when I replace, I'm going to... Okay? Any question?
Can I see that again?
Yep. And again, I'm doing it very slow right now. The objective is that you are able to see it, alright? You don't have to go this long. You should try to get the first one, and then you react, and you go for the second one, alright? So, I'm here, I'm going in, he's blocking, I'm going to shuffle, replacing my right leg with my left leg, drive with my shoulder, and take his leg. Any question? 3, 2, 1. Because it's a very similar footstep, so this time, we imagine my partner has the collar. And I cannot do my ippon soinage because each time I do my ippon soinage, it's kind of driving me off with this pump. Here. Each time I want to come in, he's pushing me off. So I know I'm not going to be able to do soinage to him. I'm going to do something that has the exact same footstep. That is called makikomi. I will still try to go through with my arm, but instead of going under, I'm going above. And by doing that, when I turn, I'm going to kind of break his straight arm, and I'm going to be able to throw him. So, if he's used to ippon soinage and each time he's pushing me, I can do the exact same thing, but I take my arm under, I'm going here, and I'm going to wrap his arm. Now there is different version of makikomi. The one I'm going to show right now is a makikomi taiotoshi. So, same footstep, I'm going with a jab step, I'm taking my arm across here, I'm going to wrap, and now I'm going to put my leg behind me like that, as a block. As if I wanted to block his leg, but I'm not going to block his leg. Because you can see there is some distance. This is allowing me to drop my weight. So again, I'm going to jab step. I'm going to send my arm around. I'm going to lock. I'm going to put my leg behind me. And I'm going to drop my weight here. See this motion I'm doing? I'm going to drop my weight to take him with me. I need to have my shoulder keeping his arm very tight. Here. I'm dropping and I'm rolling. Any question on this?
Can I see it the other way?
Like see from a different angle?
Different, yeah, just turned around.
So, jab step, going around. You can see here, I have my arm. I'm keeping it tight, extending my leg, and I'm going to go down, but as if I wanted to put my shoulder on the ground. Here. You don't have to throw each time, right? Any question? 3, 2, 1. So the footstep is the same than for ippon soinage, but the angle I want to be in is a little bit different. For ippon soinage, I'm going to turn. I want to be looking in the same direction than he does. For this one, footstep is the same, but when I'm turning, I will use my rib cage to push a little bit on his arm. And I will be looking not in this direction, but in this direction, toward the fly. So here, I'm going to use my rib cage to turn. See how he's already in a broken position? Now I keep his elbow, put my leg, and just... But I'm using my momentum of this turn to put him in a bad position. Okay?
8.
3, 2, 1.
Last session of the day. I'm sure everyone fully refreshed now, 100%. So we can do some nice hard drilling, right? Everyone's ready to go.
Hi,
What? 20 minutes. Yeah, David's going to run us through some Tabata. I'm not worried about you. So we're going to continue on with the foundation of Seoi-nage. The focus of my session is going to be in a little bit of a different way of entering into Seoi-nage. That's kind of called like a split hip entry. This is something that can be used. It has a couple different advantages. It kind of helps out when you have the height differences sometimes with a Seoi-nage. So some of you taller people who have a hard time getting in underneath a shorter person, or even a shorter person sometimes with getting a good lift off of someone who's a little bit taller than you, or even similar size. So it kind of is halfway in between what we've been doing with a traditional like standing Seoi-nage and a drop Seoi-nage. So to start off, I want to just, because the other drills that we're going to go into, to go into the split hip, we're going to be doing variations Marote Seoi-nage, which is two-handed Seoi-nage. So I want to start off just with a basic Marote Seoi-nage to get used to the position and try to help a few things that I've found that help to work on some of the common pain points that people have with doing a Marote Seoi-nage, because it's a little bit more pressure on your shoulder and stuff. If there is anyone, because this is judo and some people shoulders don't work so well anymore, and Marote Seoi-nage is just physically not possible. If you're one of those people where your shoulder's just too tight and you can't do it, we can modify and just do a normal, under the arm Seoi-nage, because we're not here to try to like injure you or re-injure you or anything like that. So, borrow Sensei David here. So for Marote Seoi-nage, a lot of times the biggest struggle that people have is the fact that I've got to get my elbow under David's armpit and be able to lift him from that position. So then it becomes hard, and I get in this position where I'm like twisting myself, or I feel like I have to like pretty much sit on the mat to be able to get my arm underneath, which you can finish from there, but then you're pretty much doing a drop Seoi-nage. Or if you want to stand up, you got to stand all the way back up. So a lot of times what will happen is people are like, well, I can't get that all the way over. So then they cheat down on the gi to have more flexibility, which works in terms of getting into this, but the issue that can happen with that is that's like the one throw where I want my hand in this position of the gi. So if I'm here and I start cheating my hand down and I start flapping the gi, he knows what I'm going for, so he's just going to shut it down every time. So the first thing that I want to point out is when I'm doing a Marote Seoi-nage, the hand that I have on his lapel, I don't want that closed. Because I have that closed, I don't have as much flexibility in my wrist because I have these muscles and tendons engaged now with the thumb closing in. So I want to basically have my fingers curled in to where I can still pull on his gi with my fingers being hooked in, but now this allows me the flexibility of being able to roll my hand in, and then as my hand rolls in, you can see I wind his gi in, and now I still have a secure grip because I'm gripping here, which any grip you're doing in judo, this should be your main gripping here, because the thumb can just be easily twisted out. So entering into this, footwork is going to be slightly different for this with the way that I'm going to show it. So rather than stepping across and then trying to fit in here and not get my body posture, I'm going to rely a little bit more on bringing him to me, and then kind of like I'm going to basically I'm gonna get it, so when I do my jab step, I'm just gonna kind of I'm almost retreating just a little bit, and I'm drawing him onto me. And I'm using my whole body to draw him up onto his toes. And what I'm doing is creating this void underneath him. And then I'm gonna twist, kind of like Sensei Sam was mentioning earlier, I'm going to twist myself down into the mat, into that void that I created, and allow him to just fall onto me essentially. And that's gonna allow me to send him over. So just getting into the position is that I'm opening him up. This hand's doing the same thing. This is just opening his collar up, pulling in. And then I'm gonna do our 180 turn to turn down in. And see, now I'm underneath him, so now I can just lift. You don't have to do a bunch of those lifts, especially, this is the last session, everyone's a little tired. Don't wear yourself out. I just want you to kind of get used. The main thing really is the flexibility in this hand. So getting to a point where I can be here and stepping in, coming back out. Getting him leading and twist down in. Any questions? Anyone need to see it at a different angle? All right, so we're just gonna drill that for a couple minutes here and then we'll move on. All right, 1, 2.
What?
You said you had a couple things you wanted to do.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna leave it for you. Okay. With the collar hand, my thumb and my pointer finger are extra. Okay? So if you had to think about if I didn't have these, I could still do Murote Sainage. What screws a lot of people up is they grab a full fist grip and they try to bring their elbow across. Okay? So when I'm teaching people, I'll often show it with these fingers out here like this. I don't want you to do that because it's a terrible habit to get into, because he's going to reach up and break my thumb, right? But the work is in these 3 fingers. Here. When I bring my elbow across, I'm creating a platform and my wrist stays strong. I don't twist my wrist like this, unless you don't value your wrists. If you don't value your wrists, by all means, whatever makes you happy. So when I step in, boom, these 3 fingers are doing the work, and I bring this across, and my wrist is locked into place. I don't twist my wrist. It's here. It's settled. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so the same elements that we talked about in the previous couple sessions still apply in terms of the control of the shoulder. Right, the difference is where, like how I'm maintaining that control. Earlier today we were doing either, squeezing the shoulder, grabbing the gi, but these hands are isolating over here, or we did with the collar where we have even more control of the shoulder. But in all of these situations, even with Murote, when I have my arm here, I don't want to keep his arm loose up here. I'm pulling it down, right? I'm not going to be able to get it flush across my body because my elbow's in the way, so unless something snaps on him, it's not going to make connection, and I'm not trying to do that, right? This isn't an arm lock. But now we're going to go into the split hip entry. Just wanted to kind of get people used to the movement and the placement of the arms with the Murote Sainage.
And if you're still having trouble bringing that elbow over, flag one of us down, we'll come and help.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't hurt. Unless you have a pre-existing injury, it should not cause pain to bring that elbow across. Go ahead.
So before I go into this, does anybody here know what the split hip entry is or has seen it before? A few people? Okay.
Hey Nate, come here.
So it's called a split hip entry because I am essentially splitting his hip. So one thing with going into these drills as uke, you're going to widen your stance just a little bit because I'm going to be taking up that space. Right. So from kind of a static, straight on position, I would be doing my normal footwork, stepping in and turning, but instead of stopping here and lifting, I'm essentially going to be doing a reverse lunge to get underneath his hips. And it's split because I'm only sending one leg back. Right? From here, and I'm here, and then from this, you have 2 options. You can either go straight into it with your rotating leg, and then there's your lift, or you can come in to your normal position and then send this leg back. That becomes a preference thing. What's more natural for you? For me, I have a tendency to prefer getting straight into it. But for some people, whether it's where you maybe you have more strength with your dominant leg back. Maybe you feel better this way. Maybe your knees hate you and you don't like either one, right? So the drill that we're going to move on to here is actually going to be working from kind of like an opposite side stance, right? So Nate, and this works out great if you have one of our rare lefties in here. So for lefties, this is just another day in the life, right? So I'm here, I've got my collar and I've got the sleeve, right? And I'm in my right leg stance, he's in his left, and we have this angle here. And so this is going to be kind of a cross step entry into the split hip. So to do this, and this may help some people with bringing the elbow across, because now it's a little bit more straight across instead of turning all the way from here. Right, so step one, I'm going to be stepping, if you can imagine that there's a triangle coming out from your partner. And if you really need to, you can stand. There's nice lines on this mat, you can make that triangle. So I'm going to be stepping into the tip of the triangle. And as I do that, I'm opening my partner up. Right? Second step, this is going to be an exaggerated step. It's not how you would do it in terms of actually entering the throw, but it's going to help emphasize getting the hip all the way through. Tip of the corner, second step is going to be here. Like I said, this is just for this drill to emphasize bringing this hip forward and pulling him with, right? And then now from here, I can either step straight back, drop my elbow in place, or I can put this foot down and step here. For this drill, it's going to be more dynamic and feel more natural, just go straight back. So all I really want you to focus on right now is getting used to dropping into that split hip. Don't worry about the lift right now, we'll move on to that. So again, one more time, I'm here, step across, drop in, elbow secure. You can see he's leaning on top of me, and then we'll move on from there in a little bit. Any questions? Anyone need a different angle?
Can you show the whole thing just so everybody can see what we're building
Yeah.
up to?
So where we're going with this, outside of Steven just wants to see Nate go head over heels again,
I mean, yeah.
right? I'm gonna step across, and then I'm gonna be here, into position, up, finish. Right, so it's a little bit of a different load for the Seinage, because it's not so much of the, kind of disappearing under him and continuing him through, because I'm getting in and really getting kind of a true lift. So it's, for some people, it may not eventually, kind of be your judo. It's a little bit more of like a power judo type of entry. But like I said, it can help for some people if you have struggles, getting low enough to get that arm across, or even just lifting. So like I said, I like using Nate, because if I just come in here and I try to lift Nate straight off the ground, his legs are longer than mine. And it doesn't go so well unless I get him leaning a lot. If I do this split hip entry, I'm underneath his hips, and I just kick his hips up off the ground. And now it doesn't matter that his legs are longer, because I'm getting my center of gravity low enough that I can lift him off the mat. So let's work that entry for a little bit, and then we'll move on. 1, 2.
When we stand in our normal stance, so my right foot's forward, JD's right foot is forward, this is called ayatsu. Okay? If he switches his stance, this is called Kangeiko. We're standing to do what Sensei, JD, wants us to do, is we want to stand in Kangeiko. So if I'm Tori, I'm the one doing the technique, my right leg, because I'm a right-handed player, is going to be in the front. And I'm going to take my step with my left leg. Do you remember how we did when we were doing the collar side Seo? I took a step with my left leg. It's the same thing. See how everything kind of flows together? So we're going to be in Kangeiko, and I'm going to step with my back leg. And now when I've done that 5, 6 times, now it's JD's turn. He's going to step with his right leg. I'm going to put my left leg forward. See? If you're working with somebody who's already a lefty, great. You never need to change stance. But when it's his turn, we have to switch. Okay? So if you're starting right here in regular ayatsu, I wouldn't do this, and neither would JD. That's why we taught it like this. So remember, when you're doing this, we need to be in Kangeiko. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, 2, 3, go.
Now, right?
We all know Lexi's the boss, don't mind.
Yeah. So you can teach it? I guess I'll use Matt.
Lexi said!
All right, so now what I'm gonna do here a little bit is gonna tie a little bit into tying into David's session a little bit in the sense of, you know, kind of tying things in together a little bit. This is gonna be a little bit more combination based than how David's was. So David's session was a little bit more on, I'm going for a technique and then my opponent reacts, and I'm reacting to how they reacted. Now what I'm gonna do is gonna kind of make the drill that we were just doing and kind of show you a dynamic option to use that, right? So this is gonna be from that ayatsu, same side stance to start off with, right? So we're gonna be in here, ayatsu, same side, there we go. Right, so first off, like Stephen mentioned earlier, I don't want him on my collar, right? So this is gonna be something where it's like, maybe I decided, I'm confident that I'm gonna be able to throw Mac with the split hip seoi-nage. But right now, the position that he's in, I wouldn't do that because his right leg is forward. I'd have to rotate all the way this way to be able at the right angle for him. So this may be familiar to a lot of you because it's a relatively basic entry. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get his foot to move, make him move that foot back. So to do that, I'm just going to use a basic kouchi gari to make him want to move this. And this is going to, like we were talking about before, I need this to be a threatening kouchi gari for him to react. Otherwise, he's not going to move. He's just going to counter me or whatever, right? So I'm stepping in, I do my kouchi gari, and I get in the step. And so now, this is where he stepped out of the way. So when I put this foot down, I want to step it into the position where I need it to go into my split hip rote seoi-nage. So in this case, now I'm here, right? And now I can make the choice of, depending on which leg I like to send, I either bring my left foot in to replace and drop the right leg back, or I can just go straight into my left leg back and get my left, right? So making this kind of a little bit more fluid, ouchi, and then in. Take it slow with this, right? If you try to rush it, you're gonna get out of position. Take your time with it. And again, one more time, kouchi, step my foot into position. And when this foot steps down, I'm not just like, I'm being light with it now because I'm teaching. What I want to do is plant that foot because I need to take him from kind of falling back to getting him back to on his toes. And then I'm stepping in. In my case, I prefer the right leg back, but if you prefer left leg back, it's right in. Anyone need a different angle? Do you need to see it lefty for the couple that we have?
Can you throw it one more time?
Throw it one more time.
Did you guys hear that noise?
One more time.
Not the fall. Do the kouchi. Did you hear the noise? Do it again. Listen, everybody listen. You hear that? The foot connecting, that means he's trying to send it. Okay? Do it again. See? You have to do the technique. You have to do the kouchi. There should be that noise. Side of your, or bottom of your foot. Okay?
Ukes, to help beat that into your partners. If Mac is uke, right? If I am lazy with this kouchi, I want him to not move, right? If I just come in like this, he's gonna not move. He's gonna not move. And if I'm getting frustrated because it's like, I need you to react, his response is just gonna be like, I need you to make me want to, right? Because if I get used to doing this, he's just gonna counter me, right? And if the way that I'm practicing is that I'm doing this, right? And I'm doing this. And if Mac is just being nice and he just steps out because he knows that's what we're supposed to do, I don't get used to the level of movement that happens when I actually go for it. And now we're here, right? Because it's really easy to be here and he steps out. I'm not really in the same position that we were when we're actually doing it. So make sure you're trying for that, to force him to move, and then you can get into position.
If I may add one more thing on that, it's late, people are a little tired, you're not always focusing on the ball. So that said, if you're uked and forgets to step out of this technique, what throw are you doing?
Coach, you got it.
Okay? Because you are trying to do it in the first place. So if your uke doesn't step out, they should fall from that. That simple. If they step out, then you go on.
All right, let's work on that. 1, 2. Anyone still has energy and wants to do some randori, we'll have some time to do that. So Stephen, can I borrow you?
Hi.
This last one, so this is another variation of a split hip seoi-nage. This is not a marote, and it's a little bit of old school judo because it involves touching the legs, which isn't legal in today's sport judo. Now, it's not a huge, big grab the leg and lift and launch them type of a thing, and it's one of those things where if someone did this in competition today and they got shidoed for it because of touching the leg, there's probably a lot of people that are going to be like, really? Because it's a very, very incidental touch of the leg. It's just a very subtle thing. So this is going to be a little bit different, but in that sense also a little bit easier to get into the split hip entry because I'm not going to be turning in this one. So in this one, I'm going to be stepping in using kind of a kosadage, shuffling step in, similar to what I'd be using when I'm going for my kouchi, but I'm not going for the kouchi. I'm going to be here, stepping in, and then I'm going to split hip underneath, so I'm kind of perpendicular to him, right? So now I have my shoulder into his, and I have some of the mechanics of my seoi-nage when we're here, of isolating the shoulder, but I'm not turning my back to him. I'm kind of coming at him like a knife almost, right? I'm going to come in here, and then once I'm here, I'm basically scooping him up. I'm basically just doing kind of a wide squat and bring my feet together. And then just to show you where we're going with this, what we'll do here is work that lift, get kind of comfortable with it, and when you're ready, go ahead and move into the finish, right? To show the full sequence here. So you can see the leg grab is just, all I'm doing is taking this hand and I'm just blocking his leg to force him to rotate around it. Right, so one more time, I'm in here and I've got him up, because if I just turn, he's like, cool, thank you for picking me up and putting me back down, right? So I need to block that leg and just kind of push it back behind me. Just push it out of my pocket essentially so that he rotates over it. Here. Just there. It's not a big throw. It's just something different and just kind of a way to wrap up the split hip seoi-nage option. So, anyone have questions? You just see it?
What is the name of this throw?
I mean, it's just like a split hip seoi-nage. It's how I've learned it. It's just like a variation, essentially. Because so when you look at the names of throws in judo, they're named based off of the principle of how they work, right? So since Sam was mentioning, seoi-nage is a shoulder throw, right? Because you're throwing them over the shoulder. So therefore, this becomes seoi-nage because the throw is still putting them over the shoulder, right? The different things like ippon, marote, you may have heard of eri seoi-nage, which looks like marote but on this side, right? That prefix generally refers to like the grip that you're using, right? Eri is Japanese for collar. Marote is two-handed, so I have two hands on him. Ippon is single-handed, so one arm, shoulder throw. Yeah. So I don't know where you would go specific Japanese for this particular one. It's called a split hip.
A Taysale.
Taysale.
There you go.
Are you taking a step whenever you walk the leg? And
Yeah, so when I get into this position and I have him up here, I'm rotating. So to do that, I'm taking my step back and then I'm just blocking the leg as I do that. Finishing it, it's one of those throws where like, you can see like when I try to sit here and hold Sensei Steven up, he's kind of swinging on me, which would make it hard to finish. At that point, if he was doing it, you could probably be really mean and just do a big wide sweep and then fall and crush his sternum. But,
Can we see that?
No. One more time.
yeah, Mac. That's it. So this works, in terms of finishing, it works as a fluid in. It's kind of almost like a rush down, like I'm just going into it and finishing it right away. I'm not hesitating, right? If I don't do it right.
We get Nate, he'll be better for it. He'll be good for this.
Right? So I'm kind of driving my shoulder up and then driving him over, using this to block his leg so he can't just put it down on the mat.
So there's a lot that goes into this.
Yeah, it's one where it doesn't look like a lot, but there's little nuances.
Couldn't he choke you because his arms cross your neck?
So I'm going to answer this question because it's a good question. So he goes and picks me up. I'm trying to choke him right now. Like maybe if he is, I can probably get up. Like now I could, but no, because he's holding my sleeve and he's keeping that lock to his chest. If he does it again, boom! Like I can't get him with my other hand. So if he's dumb and picks me up and then lets go of my arm, he's not going to be able to keep me up like that. I'm going to fall off of him. But you'll feel the pressure in your armpit when your partner does it. There's nothing I can do with
This
this.
becomes similar to when, at the beginning of the session this morning, when Sensei David mentioned how he learned in France, they put the shoulder in, but they isolate it straight down. You're doing the same thing. It's just, again, instead of being here, I'm here. But I'm still isolating this down to keep that connection on his shoulder.
Yeah, because what happens
And
is,
I'm not sitting here long enough to let him try to choke me.
yeah, so do it again, and then let go once you get me up in the air. So he lets go, so I try to choke him, and I just fall. But no, there's no choke there. There's no choke there.
Got it? All right, so we'll spend a few minutes on this, and then we'll take a quick break, and if anyone's still got gas in the tank for some randori, we'll do that.
So quick point of reference, we're going to bow out, and then we'll do randori. So anybody who doesn't want to do randori can go get changed and all that. Then I'm going to wait for the formalities afterwards. So once we get done with this, we'll do a formal bow out. Anybody wants to do randori, we can do randori. Anybody who doesn't, go ahead and get changed. Cool? All right.
All right. 1, 2.